Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with more Total War Warhammer 3 Siege rework news. Creative Assembly not only have dropped a trailer but also released a blog regarding more Siege info, so let's take the time right now and read over it in case there's anything important in here. Let's start off with the first paragraph. The alterations to Sieges come in two major components, both of which are vital to understand to see just how much things have changed. The first is in the map design itself. The philosophy of that, and the variety we're introducing them through. There is now a much wider selection of potential siege maps, each assigned to a settlement based on their default faction's culture, themes, and preferences for combat. Cathay and dwarves build highly defensive fortresses set into the sides of mountains, where their firepower can be exploited to its fullest. Meanwhile, Kislev has long withstood chaos with tight streets and hardy men and women who will fight tooth and claw for every inch. Races like the Skaven and Greenskins have more ramshackle fortresses that are no less deadly, which themselves pale in comparison to the weirdness of the strongholds dedicated to each of the Chaos Gods on the outskirts of the realms of Chaos. This is really cool. This sounds absolutely amazing. The fact is, wow. If every faction is going to have different stuff, and we know that Greenskins and Skaven and Dwarves are mentioned here, so Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2 races are going to get stuff, that's fantastic. This is great news. That actually answers a lot of fears, and well done, Creative Assembly, well done. Let's move on to the next paragraph. The upshot of all this is that each time you enter a siege, no matter what side you're on, the combination of your army, the enemy, and the layout of the settlement is going to make a unique experience across the many hours of play. We've deliberately paced the layouts of different settlements to avoid repeats between adjacent regions, and even factions that share layouts have different dressings that can impact gameplay as well as looks. Fighting two identical siege battles back to back should be a thing of the past. Oh my god, yes! 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 That is great. This is so desperately needed. This is fantastic. This is going to make the game so much better than it was for Warhammer 2. Warhammer 2 is great, but this, yes! These maps themselves have been designed significantly differently from what you may have been used to from Warhammer 2, as well as the capture points and buildable towers and barricades, which we'll get into below. We've upgraded our tools, AI, yes, and designs to make for much better maps. One significant area is height variation, with much larger differences between elevation levels throughout a map, and it being far more common than before. Okay. There are also dockable terrain areas within settlements, depending on their layout, giving range units more use inside the walls. These advancements also allowed us to add bridges to maps, giving new ways to move around settlements and create tactical possibilities we haven't seen before. Okay, so this is great. AI is going to be better. That's something which really needed to be fixed here. And obviously we've already seen that in the trailer, that we've got bridges and so on. This is going to be really cool. We've only seen one or two settlements from that trailer. I can't wait to see more. I really want to see the Chaos ones. This is going to be incredible. Next paragraph. With this variation comes more open areas within settlements, which allows for far more diversity in viable unit types. Okay, cool. So giants and so on, I'm imagining. A fight no longer starts and ends at the outer wall. Well, it mostly was inside, of which many settlements now have several, making for 2 or 3 approach angles for attackers. And sieges are a much more interesting and realistic prospect of steadily defending and capturing areas of a town, city, castle, or hell pit. This is so cool. It makes for defensive siege weapons a far more promising prospect, be they firing from the high ground inside a settlement past the outer walls, or defending the streets themselves with clever placement. This is so good, because sometimes you'll have some armies with some siege equipment, and let's be honest, in most cases, if you're defending, you're barely going to use a siege weapon, because they will have to fire over a wall. Sometimes they'll hit the wall, killing your own troops, and it's just not great. So if they have vantage points to fire through, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Next paragraph. The second big update is introducing the supplies and buildable structures we first introduced to you in survival battles mode. Okay, we expected this. While it is the same system and basic understanding, the use is completely different. Sieges now feature several capturable locations rather than one, and each provides supplies per second, as well as governs a few buildable locations. If they're lost, their attached buildings are destroyed. These come in two variations, either towers or barricades. Okay, so we discussed this before. We expected this to happen because it just seemed like it was going to be too good of a mechanic not to bring back. And I'm actually rather happy that they've been able to do so. Okay, so we have an aerial view of one of the battle maps, and like, wow. Okay, this is massive. We can see that we can attack from multiple sides. There's loads of different points here. A lot of different elevation points. I mean, I'm just looking at this and this looks absolutely huge. Like, this is definitely two armies fighting at the same time, right? Like, two defenders, two attackers? Has to be. Yeah, it definitely has to be. It's probably a defender and a garrison and two attacking armies because this looks like massive. This is big hype. I don't try to be hyped up because until I get a better view of the game, I don't want to be too hype worthy when it comes to these videos. But this looks impressive. Okay, so we have the next paragraph here. The big idea is that your initial defense will be focused on the walls. When these fall to your enemy's combination of artillery, flyers, siege towers, and brute strength, some units can now attack walls directly as they can gates. Oh, okay. I'm assuming that all big monstrous units will be able to do that, which is really cool, but let's continue, right? You can retreat into the city and create custom-made secondary line with barricades, towers, firing platforms, and monuments where you want them. This is great. Obviously, they're predefined, but that's really, really cool. This allows you to create your own battle lines depending on your playstyle and the specifics of that battle. Each point can be upgraded and downgraded as you wish, for the relative cost of building, making you able to shift your strategy on the fly. Naturally, while this system is shared with survival battles, balancing is done differently to ensure good gameplay. I like the system in survival battles. It's going to be rather curious to see this as a defensive line though. Hopefully it won't be too long until some creators such as myself, I know this sounds bad, but I want to try it out. I know you guys want to try it out too, but generally it's still early access, as I'm really confused as to how this can work, and sometimes a blog and really a small trailer doesn't show that much. Again, not being negative, I'm just really curious. Each settlement also has a stockpile of supplies for you to begin the battle with. In campaign, this is determined by various factors, buildings and level of settlement being the most notable, as well as scaling into the late game for the more major double full stack encounters that occur at that stage. It scales! Oh, that's great! This allows you to construct a few important towers and barricades to begin with, already garrisoning them with troops or using them as tactical choke points. In general, the new maps are much larger, with many more potential points of entry for your foe, so all these additional resources are going to be needed to keep things in check. This is really, really cool. The fact that some stuff actually scales as the game progresses, that is incredible. Like, I don't think we have a system like that so far in Total War, so this is completely new. I am honestly quite curious. I'm really, really curious to see this. Next paragraph. As your opponent pushes in, you need to make decisions about which supply points and the districts they control are worth defending. Attackers cannot construct buildings or use supplies, nor do the supply locations provide victory points. Very good and very important there. But denying you them allows for more ways to move through your settlement. Interesting. Dismantling defenses and moving them into a new location to secure and fight the battles anew is a vital strategy against the overwhelming odds that are often levied against a besieged settlement. Okay, I like this. You're going to have to think there's a lot more tactics involved, which, yeah, let's be honest, Total War kind of needed a bit of a facelift when it comes to tactics. So, yeah, so far so good. There are also two special capture points, one key building and one victory location. The key building is usually closer to the center of the settlement, and it provides a defensive buff if it is under control of the besieged. Previously, we had defensive bonuses that weren't always clear, so we cleared that up with this single clear benefit. The final victory point is also still there, and usually furthest from the gates. It will mark either the glorious taking of a supposedly impenetrable fortress, or the immovable object of your defensive forces proving their worth. Victory tickets are provided by both these capture points. Okay, so in the middle of your settlement or closer to the gates and so on, this is where you have a big buff to defend yourself with, which I think many people have suggested this in possible speculation and so on, so that's really cool. And if the enemy captures this, you lose that buff. I'm assuming you'll be able to take that back though, so that'll be kind of cool. And obviously then the final victory point is what remains the same, as we've always had that. So either take that and hold it, or obviously rout the enemy army. But this is really, really cool. I like this. This sounds interesting. Okay, so we have another image of another battle map once again. This, I don't know, is this a... Yeah, this is just a 3-point side. It's not a 360 map. Maybe there might be 360 maps. I hope there are. It kind of looked like one, though it's again huge. I mean, if we look at it, the icons themselves of the units can barely be seen, so obviously this is really zoomed out. I'm curious. I want to play. I think we all do too. Now, what's that on the side there, on the right-hand side of the castle? Is that like just a new lip that goes over? Like, I really wish they showed this off properly rather than just an aerial view, because we can't see much. Okay, so we have another paragraph here. The upshot of all this is that siege battles will be more interesting, more exciting, more varied, with greater tactical depth, and more diverse unit viability. Okay, that's cool. New and larger map layouts with better terrain, cultural differences between factions being represented, plus the new home turf advantages of towers and key buildings all combines for a new experience. They're really trying to hype this up, and I really hope the hype is worth it. Okay, we have some AI info here. We've also improved the AI, not only to handle all these new elements, but also to provide more of a challenge whether you're attacking or defending. Flyers and fast-moving units will now prioritize useful actions like preventing sallied out cavalry from attacking ranged or siege units. That's great, so cavalry can now sally out. That's actually really, really good. The AI also has a greater understanding of how different areas of the map are under threat, and when they should withdraw to prevent losses. This makes it more reactive and capable of fighting against diverse enemies. Many of these improvements are direct from Three Kingdoms and Troy, bringing the Warhammer trilogy right up to the modern day in terms of our best designed Total War titles. Well, in terms of battle, Troy's battles are actually really good. They're rather short in terms of that, but that's because, well, you don't have a lot of unit variety, but that's really, really good. Three Kingdoms also has a better AI in terms of battles than Warhammer. I know a lot of people who don't want to hear this, but yeah, it's just how it is. So if that's coming into Warhammer 3, that's good news. James Martin of Survival Battle fame has been taking us through everything so far. Here's his direct take on the AI changes. We started with the Three Kingdoms AI as it provided us with a good base to work from. The Three Kingdoms Settlement AI has been very well received and worked well for our new settlement layouts. From there, we put a lot of work into how we offer our Siege AI graph to make it easier to design and more flexible to work with, which has also improved the pathfinding within settlements. With the introduction of the districts concept via the capture locations and supply points, the AI can now separate and manage large parts of the settlement map and say, this area over that area, this district is more threatened than that one above. They can then prioritize or fall back if one is overtaken by the attacker. For the settlement battles, they also know how to build towers and barricades, which is something they don't have to do in survival battles. Okay, this is good. If the AI is going to be this smart, this is going to make the games much more fun. I know a lot of us mostly play campaign, and we normally play single player or co-op, not head-to-head. So being able to have a smart AI to fight against us, I hope that the AI gets smarter with the larger the difficulty. Say if you're playing on Legendary, it will become much, much more intelligent. This is just me thinking at this point. Next paragraph. It also means that sieges are more challenging for the attacker and defenders, particularly when manually controlled. Can apply meaningful losses even with small garrisons if played well. It will take a true army to bust through the defense of a fortress and starving out the defenders through newly rebalanced attrition. Ooh, okay. Maybe a better option than charging the walls. Of course, every day you spend starving them out is another day of them building supplies to construct defenses should you attack before they give up. Oh, so the longer you take, the more supplies the defenders get. This is really cool. So if you want them to have very little, you're always going to have to bring some siege attacker units. Unless you want to wait and potentially build up some siege towers, which will give them more supplies. This is rather cool. There is a bit of information regarding minor settlement battles. This is all further enhanced by the minor settlement battles coming to Warhammer 3. They follow many of the same improvements as sieges, most notably that we have designed a huge number of special maps for each minor settlement, rather than using lightly modified land battle maps. I honestly thought they were same as just the same land battles, but okay. The main difference is that these are not walled, but otherwise use the same systems of a key building, districts, towers, and barricades. Oh, cool! Victory requires either a routed enemy or captured settlement, as in other Total War games. It mentions here that there are examples of stuff here, but I'm assuming that that was killed off last second for a different trailer. So yeah, there's no pictures. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so the next paragraph. As mentioned, the defenders still have a supply count to build barricades and towers. Without an initial wall to act as a stopgag, it's much more frantic defense, which can shift and move at any time. Okay, cool. You're unlikely to have time to build up a full stock of supplies while waiting for the enemy to get past your first line, so making sure your initial placements are up to snuff is vital. Okay, I'm rather interested to see how this goes. Are we going to have some minor walls, not stuff that you can place units on? I really hope so, because that was kind of important back in the day of other settlement stuff, like, say, for example, in Attila, even some stuff in Rome, and so on. Next paragraph. Barricades are in positions that prevent deeper access to a settlement, or, at the very least, demand that attackers take a more circuitous route. Towers are on platforms that are out of reach from melee units. Ooh. Only flyers and range units can target them. Can flyers attack towers physically? I really hope that's the case. However, they are also destroyed if their attached capture point is taken. Cool, makes sense. Making quick moving or stealthy troops another option. This should be interesting if you have like some stalk units that can go through the back, but it really much depends how long it takes to take one of these capture points. Next paragraph. For balancing reasons, we've made it so flying units and summoned units cannot capture points, though there's nothing stopping them from wiping out the forces surrounding it and having some of their landlords or corporeal allies come in to assist. Flyers are particularly effective at preventing defending ranged units from peppering your other attackers as they approach. It's a shame if you can't make some flyers take over the points, like if you ground them. I hope that's the case, or else Bloodthirsters and so on are going to be kind of useless when it comes to this. Though I understand the balancing reason, so I'm trying to find it hard to justify allowing Bloodthirsters to take it, to be honest. Yeah, I take it back. Next paragraph. Minor settlement battles are now exactly what they should be. Smaller sieges over less massive settlements, but with all the same grit and determination from both sides to conquer the area. They're varied from each other, normal land battles and other sieges, adding a third to the usual most common two types of battles. These new layouts and options also mean that should you wish to, taking manual control over a defense against a rampaging enemy can really whittle them down over time, making it easier to defend your lands if your main armies are off making war elsewhere. So yeah, okay, we've got confirmation these are proper settlement battles and so on, which is great. Not only that, but it gives us reason to stop auto-resolving a lot, or just giving up cities because there's no need. There's so much hype here, and I really hope that it follows through, because this just sounds absolutely amazing, and like, I'm hearing as a Total War fan everything I want to hear. I'm sure a lot of you guys are too, so let's just hope. Okay, so we have a few paragraphs here dedicated to the Grand Bastion, so let's talk about it. With the first one, nowhere are the changes to sieges more relevant than in Grand Cathay. The Great Bastion, why do I keep getting them confused? Never mind, it's fine. Is a mighty wall built to contain the tides of chaos many thousands of years ago by the Celestial Dragon Emperor himself. It is now the domain of Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, and she defends it with her life and her soldiers. So far so good, so let's move on to the next paragraph. Gameplay-wise, it has relevant and unique elements on and off the battle map. During a campaign, as you control, hold, and build up the Great Bastion as Cathay, Chaos forces will begin to gather and prepare to attack. You can ride out to usher them a swift death or allow them to attack and break against the wall as so many have done before. Numerous events and small quests will be centered around these walls, and controlling and managing them as properly is a big part of Cathayan campaign in the north. Okay, so there's a quest system, there's also... oh, okay. This is really confusing. So this, I'm assuming, is going to be the main focus of Miao Ying's campaign. Not that we can take over the Great Bastion with Zhao Ming and then be able to take these quests. It's not very clear. I'm assuming it's just for her. Okay, let's go for the next paragraph. Once on the battlefield, the Bastion is an incredibly defensive fortress. One single attackable wall with clear fallback points regularly interspersed towards the center. Strong walls with powerful towers are followed by swaths of buildable locations and defensive positions. However, all this is needed as the forces that will come to take it are truly titanic. The Chaos Gods know the value of breaching the Great Bastion, and their armies will flood from the realm of chaos if it is disturbed, be that by you or another faction. Oh, so if another faction takes over, does that mean that chaos then rises a bit more? I don't know, we're going to have to wait and see, but obviously this is a more fortress-style battle. I'm really curious to see how this works, because obviously we've seen fort battles already. Now, obviously with new mechanics, it's going to be really cool. I'm pretty hyped up. I wonder what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I mean, it looks like Creative Assembly are going all out. Let's just hope that everything they're saying comes to light, because sometimes these things are overhyped, though I'm feeling kind of positive. I must say, I'm really excited. You could probably tell, normally I'm a bit more passive, but yeah, this sounds pretty cool. Let's just wait and see. Hopefully there'll be news soon. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.